Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to Wolfgar Concealment's online concealed weapons license class for the state of Florida. In today's class, we're going to be going over three main topics: firearm safety, principles of marksmanship, and the laws governing your self-defense in the state of Florida. I want to remind you that after the completion of this online course, you will still need to set up a time to meet with one of our instructors for you to take the live fire portion of the class. We will provide those in every major city in Florida. Please get with us with dates. If you have special needs or requirements, please let us know and we will do our best to make accommodations for you. We will be using a live firearm in the classroom for today's training that is 100% unloaded, so we can show you the function and form of firearms. So, if you happen to have a firearm that you are using during this class, I need you to make sure it is unloaded and all ammunition is in another room. Safety first. To start our topic of firearm safety, we're going to go over the 4 rules of gun safety. For the 4 rules of firearm safety, these are the doctrine. This is what you must know. This is the discipline that you must have to always be safe. Number 1, all guns are always loaded. Number 2, never point a gun at anything you're not willing to destroy. Number 3, keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are on target and you're ready to shoot. And most important for us that carry guns every day in public, always be sure of your target and what's beyond it. To extend off of that, there is no exception to rule number 1. It is the cardinal rule in which all 3 rules follow. We have to maintain the discipline that we treat every gun as if it's loaded. Accidents occur because we always fail to make sure the gun is not loaded. Never point a gun at anything you're not willing to destroy is an easy second. You have to be aware of it. If you're showing it to a friend, pulling it out to get work done on it, or ending your day, make sure you're always aware of where that muzzle is pointing. Keep your finger off the trigger. It should be a conscious effort to put your finger high up on the slide. Make sure it's not on the trigger unless you're ready to shoot. This is the most common rule violation by new and undisciplined shooters. Take a moment to look at this diagram that we're showing you on how your hand should look when holding a firearm. Keeping your finger off the trigger is essential, and this is going to carry over to when you're picking up the Windex to wash your windows or the garden hose to water your tomatoes, whatever it might be. When you pick up a firearm, you keep your finger indexed high up on the frame or the slide. Keeping your finger over the trigger guard is not putting your finger on the trigger. But in a self-defense situation, when your heart's beating out of your chest and that adrenaline's going, you might accidentally slide your finger on that trigger and pull it. If you're moving your feet, you're likely to fall. If you fall and hit the ground, your finger can fall through and pull that trigger. If you're falling and pull the trigger, where's the gun pointing at? Your guess is as good as mine, right? You're falling. Keep it indexed high up on the slide. Always be sure of your target. We're responsible for every round that leaves our firearm. If you're out of range or at a friend's house, make sure you have a safe backstop. During a threat, are there multiple bystanders that could possibly be hit by a stray bullet? Bullets can overpenetrate. Is there anyone behind your attacker? These 4 rules are going to keep you safe. If you can't repeat these 4 rules off the top of your head, I implore you to print them out and put them right next to your firearm and repeat them every morning before you put on your gun to go out into the world. Let's repeat them. Number 1, treat every gun as if it's loaded. Number 2, never point the firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy. Number 3, keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are on target and you're ready to shoot. Number 4, always beware of your target and what's beyond it. That's why these safety rules are important. So real quick, number 1 is what?
All guns loaded.
I need to hear, thank you so much. Come on, guys. Number one. That's right. Say them. You got to start saying them now. You got to start building that discipline. We are dumb creatures. All humans are dumb creatures. We forget stuff. Our brains don't always work like we need it to. That has to be right there in the front of your head. Number two, never point anything that you're not willing to destroy. Number three, keep that trigger finger off the trigger and on the slide until your sights are on target and you're ready to shoot. Number four, always be sure of your target. If you can't repeat those, that's your first homework assignment is going home, going to the library, wherever you got to go, print those off. Put them right next to your everyday carry gun. To safely unload a firearm, you are going to want to find the magazine release. On most firearms, it's going to be somewhere where your thumb or trigger finger can get to that magazine release, because the theory is you never want to take your hand off the firearm. If you take your hand off the gun during a gunfight, you might as well throw up the white flag and say, I quit, you win. When you hit that magazine release, your magazine is going to slide out, but is your gun unloaded? No. There could still be one in the chamber. So you are going to want to manually rack that back. Look inside the chamber with your eyes and physically stick your finger in there to make sure that that chamber is empty. Now you know you have an unloaded firearm. For a revolver, we do not have a revolver here, and I apologize for that at the moment. So, to safely unload a revolver, all you do is point that gun in a safe direction. You find the cylinder release where that thumb can push that button. Use your secondary hand to kick out that cylinder. And at that point, you can use the extractor rod to push out any empty casings to make sure that gun is unloaded. Now we're going to cover safety in the home. Keeping a firearm in the home is a serious decision. Every family member must be educated about firearm safety. Now I know it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Firearm storage needs are going to vary from household to household. Things you have to consider are young children, outside visitors, depressed or stressed family members. We have to be good stewards of firearm safety. And with that comes many options. What are those options? What is the best way to keep a firearm safe? Well, I'm an NRA instructor, and the NRA says the safest storage method is keeping the firearm unloaded, disassembled, and securely locked away, with the ammunition locked away separately. I hate saying it. I don't like the way it rolls off my tongue. But I'm a self-defense instructor as well. And I know keeping it readily accessible so I can get to it fast is going to help me survive a scenario. You hear that boom, bam, crash in your kitchen at 2 in the morning? Well, I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired because I get like 5 hours of sleep a night, so I'm out. I gotta get up. I'm blind, so I gotta get my glasses. Got a big dog. Gotta climb over the dog. Right? Gotta get to my safe and unlock it. Now I gotta unlock the ammo too. I was dead 90 seconds ago. So it's not practical to self-defense. All right. Now on the opposite end of this spectrum, keeping a fully loaded firearm readily accessible is great because you'll be able to get to it quick. But if you sleep with a loaded gun under your pillow, you better not watch Walking Dead because you're going to have a zombie dream and shoot yourself in the head on accident, right? So we got to find something in the very middle of that that's going to work for us. Are we single? Is it just us and an adult partner? Do we have children in the home? Do we have anybody that has mental illness in the home? There are different types of storage methods that we can find that are going to fit our day-to-day lifestyle. We have to be good stewards of gun ownership. So every family member needs to have some type of firearm education. It could just be a safety conversation. If you have small children, elementary school children in your family, not just in your home, but in your family, you might want to write this down. NRA Eddie Eagle. It is a free class. You can go to YouTube. It's a 7-minute cartoon tailored for children to make sure they know the importance of firearm safety. That's how important it is for us to be good stewards of firearm safety, right? So, and you got to remember, kids are curious creatures. I got 3 daughters, all right, so I might have had a loaded house myself, but every time I answered one of their questions, they had 100 more ready to go after that. So we got to be prepared to answer those questions for kids. So what I'm saying now is important. Firearm storage for me is going to be different than you all. Most of my kids like to shoot all the time. One of my kids doesn't like to shoot at all, right? So that interest level is going to be different. Your self-defense is going to be different. We just have to consider young kids, outside visitors, welcomed and unwelcomed outside visitors, right? People can break into your house, break into your car. Something that we don't talk about enough in this firearm industry, in my opinion, that is just my opinion, and I will always tell you when it's my opinion, all right? We don't talk about stressed or depressed family members. Everybody here is human, right? Everybody has range of emotions, right? Right now we're facing some pretty tough times as a human race, whether it be COVID, whether it be stressful situations out in the street, abuse of power, whatever you want to call it, I don't care, but it's stressful and it's gonna eat at you a little bit. So if you're ever feeling stressed out and depressed, make sure you let somebody know. If you have somebody in your family that's stressed out and depressed, make sure you take the time to reach out to them and see what's going on. Maybe it's not your place to talk to them and you just need to make sure your firearms are not accessible to that person. Because we've seen that. People have killed their parents and took those guns and committed mass shootings, right? So that's what we have to be aware of. You can't even tell me that your kid can distinguish between a real and a toy gun. How many people's bought their kids Nerf guns, paintball guns, BB guns, right? All types of stuff out there, right? All right, look at this graph. Let me try not to give the first one away. There we go. All right. There are 6 guns, 6 pictures. Are they real or fake? This is what we're trying to drive home. Think differently. Safety in the home. Store that gun safely.
When we talk about safety, we have to talk about safely securing these firearms, right? It's our responsibility as good gun owners to make sure that those guns don't fall into the hands of unauthorized individuals. And that can be a couple different folks, right? Not just, Billy Joe down the street who's breaking into houses to support his drug habit. That's even our children.
Okay, storage considerations. Can I get to my gun if needed? Will I be able to load the weapon in the dark quickly enough? And do I rely on the education and discipline of others in the household?
So how do we do that as gun owners? And there's a lot of products out there. I tell people all the time, we live in the greatest age of the firearm world because all the new products and all the fancy stuff that we get to go buy. So you have a couple different things.
Now, when purchasing a firearm, a pistol, most pistols come with cable gun locks. And it's a great option to prevent the gun from being used because the cable gun lock comes through this magazine well and out the ejection port to where it doesn't allow the gun to close. If the breech doesn't close, the gun will not function. But that does not mean somebody cannot get a hold of that firearm and cut that lock off. Trigger locks are kind of the same. If you have a trigger lock, it's going to go over the trigger. But with a trigger lock, you can still rack that gun and put one in the chamber. So if you have a single action, it could be dangerous if it bumps. Traditional gun safes are great. They're heavy, a good option to prevent theft. But if you and 4 of your friends on one weekend move it in there and you go away for the next weekend, somebody can break in and have 4 of their friends help them carry that out.
If you don't set it in your home correctly, it can still get stolen. I had a good friend. He was a customer first, became a real good friend. His uncle had passed away. He had got this huge gun collection. Well, his girlfriend lived in southern Indiana. He lived in Louisville. He went away for the night. Well, a couple guys broke into his house, stole 36 guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. You got to bolt it to the floor. You got to bolt it to a stud in the wall. Can they still get it out of there? Yes, but it's going to make it that much harder. It's going to take them that much longer, and it gives it gives your community time to respond to that.
So you have to make sure you store the safe in there properly. Learn how to bolt it into the floor correctly or bolt it into a stud in the wall. If you miss the stud and hit the drywall, it's just going to pull the drywall out with it when they go to pull that out. They have some amazing quick access safes on the market today using biometrics, little bracelets with RDIF chips in there, so all you have to do is wave your hand over the safe and it'll pop open with a fully loaded firearm. Quick access only meaning some of them have 3 to 4 to 5 digit codes,
Lots of options for you. Home concealment options may vary these days. There's companies out there like tacticalwalls.com that have different types of furniture, picture frames. They have hidden locks to where it looks like a piece of furniture in your home, but it'll store that gun safely and out of sight, out of mind for anybody that should not have that firearm.
What I like, it's my opinion. I'm not saying it's the best safe out there, but this is what works for me. A quick access safe. My wife has a bracelet she can wear to bed. It's got a little RDIF chip in it. So if she's all sleepy and groggy, all she has to do is wave her hand over the gun safe like a magic hand, and it pops open with a fully loaded gun ready to go. Me, I got to put in a 4-digit code because that bracelet don't fit my wrist for anything. So it works for me. You can get those from anywhere from $89 to $150. They got thumbprint safes. They got all kinds of different biometric safes out there. That works for me. Know how to mount that though. Bolt it to something sturdy that can't be moved, because if you put that in your nightstand and Jim Bob breaks in and opens your drawer, guess who's got him a new safe? Jim Bob, right?
When storing firearms, especially in a self-defense situation, and this is more than just concealed carry, this is just self-defense itself, think about keeping some high output flashlight, because most home invasions occur in a low light situation and you need to be able to identify a potential threat. It can also be blinding to your assailant, which would give you crucial seconds to react. Maybe a cell phone. It's always good to have a cell phone close by so you can call the police and have the cavalry come in to help you. Extra set of keys. I know a lot of people do the pocket dump as soon as they come in the house, but if you have an extra set of keys in your bedroom and a couple people are coming in your front door, what's to say you can't jump out your window, get in your car, and escape the entire situation? These are just small things we like to mention. There's a lot of home defense courses out there. If you are interested, I highly suggest you look into those and take one as soon as possible for you and your family. Now we're going to cover safely carrying your handgun. And this is something that is near and dear to my heart because I am also a holster builder with Wolfguard Concealment. Too many times we see individuals spend hundreds of dollars on firearms, and then they go online to Google or Bing and they look for the cheapest holster they can find. Your gear is just as important as your gun. You want to make sure that your holster is a quality holster. Safety is the #1 priority when choosing a holster. You want to make sure that it has proper retention of the handgun, meaning if you get knocked on your backside, that gun is not going to fall out. It needs to have a good trigger guard on it so nothing can get behind this trigger so it accidentally discharges. The carrier must maintain control of that handgun at all times. Comfort should also be a factor. You may have to carry a gun for several hours a day. If the holster is not comfortable, you're not going to wear the holster, which most likely means you're not going to be having the gun on your person. So it kind of defeats the purpose of taking this class.
You want to make sure that it has proper retention of the handgun so it doesn't fall out. You want to make sure that the trigger guard is covered so nothing can get behind that trigger and pull the trigger. It needs to have some sort of comfort factor so you'll put it on in the morning when you go about your daily business. But it also has to be practical. You have to be able to effectively get to that gun and get it engaged.